Welcome all to the Node, your place for news, interviews, and education. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and with me shortly will be David. But until he gets here, let's cover a little something. So we have an interview that we have lined up, and that will be Tuesday this coming week. So what is that? The fourth, the 4th of August, and we will be having the CEO of Alpin will be joining us, and looking forward to chatting with him. Alpin is a exchange, or not exchange. It's a DeFi play on Canton Network, and so been chatting with him, and he is able to come on Tuesday. We're going to find out about that project, find out what it is exactly that they're doing, and when that might go live. So with that, David, how's it going, brother?
Doing well, Mike. Doing really well. I am hopefully going to be testing that GetRunway.trade hyperliquid agent today. So I've been working on that this morning, and yeah, man, I think I'm going to go live with it and start testing it this afternoon.
Well, speaking of hyperliquid, I don't know if it's my wallet or a hyperliquid, but as you can see in my screen share, it has my little bit of profit that I've made on my Canton long in the bottom right hand corner. And it's always there. It's like always.
I think that is. Are you using Rabby? Yeah, that's Rabby. Yeah.
I tried locking the wallet, but it's like still there. So I'll figure it out. But I don't care. I'm always transparent. And I've been telling people in the community and stuff like that, kind of where I'm at with my long, and I've been bouncing around now between like $10 and $24 for like the past 24 hours, with that little bit of volatility after the the FOMC meeting.
Yeah. So I guess my question to you is, where's your TP? Where's your take profit level?
Honestly, I think I'm just going to peel profit out, because I don't think that Canton's going to go much lower. My liquidation level is at like 7 cents, and so I think that just I'm going to let it ride. Yes, it's a very small, it's a very small position, but I think that like if I hit, like I think right now I'm at about. I'm down now, but earlier I was at about 10%. But I think that just as it hits like certain levels, I'm just going to peel off some profits. Peel off 10%, peel off 10%, and just as it goes up, keep on peeling off 10%.
Okay. So one thing that I really like to do whenever trading perps, especially with leverage, is set explicit stops and take profit levels. Yeah. And have that before you enter any trade, because when
I don't have runaway, so yeah, I'm like that gambling addict in Vegas. I'm like, let it ride.
Oh, man, well, you don't want to get Aschenbrennered, Did you see that guy?
No, I mean, this is like $200. It's like I'm not putting a major portion of my portfolio or anything like that. This is just something to kind of entertain me, to keep me from messing around with my bags, because I think everybody's kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people are just kind of bored with the markets right now and either capitulated or just kind of looking for, something to do. So I just watching, Canton and what's going on with it, watching the burn mint ratio, watching the price, things like that. I just think I see an opportunity to get in at a low price, put in like a 2x long, and just sit on it and just, try to write it up. And, if it does, start getting to a point to where, it reaches a decent amount of profit, take my initials out. And then after that, just let it ride.
I hear you. I hear you. So, I have a lot of experience trading perps, bro.
Yeah.
And I've read just about every book on trading I can get my hands on. And so irregardless of the size of the position, the mindset and the strategy on entry.
I am not a trader. I don't plan on being a trader. I'm not worried about setting bad habits. I'm scratching an itch.
Gotcha.
That's all it is. I have no desire to be a day trader, and So again, and I'm probably one of the most disciplined people that you'll find when it comes to just life in general. So, I mean, if I ever decided to become a trader, yes, I would be implementing, and I was, actually being serious
What-
about it. I would definitely be doing what you're talking about. Probably
So,
like
so Mike, speaking of scratching that itch, though, dude, I'm thinking that look, I built a DCA plan for myself first thing this morning, and out the door and at the beach by 7. So when I was just laying in bed, I was working a little bit on my phone, and I was thinking to myself, like, all right, well, I think that Bitcoin probably goes to like maybe 50, like maybe like high, like low 50s, like 52. And so if it's trading 64.8 right now, like what? Do I have a crystal ball? No. So am I going to bottom tick Bitcoin? No. Should I expect to be able to do that? No. So what I did is I built a plan for DCAing into, and these are my 4: Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and Tron. Those are the 4. So, and the reason why I selected those 4 is, number one, I believe in Bitcoin, the only decentralized commodity. ETH, Sol, and Tron, that's like the entirety of like stablecoin market cap right there. So,
pretty much,
yeah. So I was just thinking to myself, okay, like those are the 4 that I want to DCA into. And then I rank ordered them by volatility. And that helped me to figure out, okay, how much do I allocate to each one? And I'm thinking that I might actually start my DCA process tomorrow, and then
All right.
every Friday for the next 12 weeks, because I'm thinking that if I can get fully allocated by the end of October, then at least, like according to my cycle analysis, I will be in by the bottom. Will I bottom tick these assets? No, but I'll be
Dude,
allocated.
like 1% of 1% of 1% will get in perfectly at the bottom. It's just the odds of doing that is probably about the same as catching that one meme coin that pumps. You know what I mean?
And thank you, Wispy, for the jewels. We'll add
Oh
them to the jewel
yeah,
collection.
and it was two jewels, so it was the family jewels.
There we go.
So another bit of info is tonight David is going to be on a game show with Crux of Crypto and a panel of crypto content creators, and they're going to be there's like 10 questions. I just sent those to you so
I
that you
saw
can
that. Yeah.
so you can kind of pregame. But basically, there's going to
Pre-game.
be
Should I be pre-gaming before the thing? Is that what I
well,
should
just
do?
so that you can look at the questions and check them out. But
Gotcha.
basically, they're just going to go around the horn, and they the way that I in the past ones that I watched is they ask do you disagree, strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree, basically on the question, and then based off of how people answer. Then the way that he's done it is he picks one from kind of each side of the spectrum, and then has them kind of give their their basis on why they feel that way. And so it looks really interesting. It's actually something that me and David months ago were talking about doing on our channel. But it's great that somebody's doing it. It's it definitely not throwing shade at all. I just felt
I'm
it's something.
excited. Yeah, I think it's going to be
Yeah,
great.
no, it's I think it's something important. And something that we're about here. Part of our core ethos is civil discourse, is being able to have differing opinions. I mean, on the red pill, on this show, on all of our shows, we're all about differing opinions. We hate echo chambers. We insist that people, including ourselves, cite sources. If you're going to make a statement, and a statement of fact, you need to back it up. Otherwise you need to state, this is my opinion, or this is what I think. Because you can't just say XRP is going to $10,000. Okay, based on what?
Exactly. What evidence do you have? Cite your sources. And I'm looking over here at Canton, Mike. It's sitting at resistance, bro. Like, I would take those gains. Realize those gains.
It's all good.
Nah, all good, man, all good.
Yeah,
But I'm looking
yeah.
forward to the game show tonight. That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, man. You know, look,
So,
uh,
well, and
yeah,
also tonight, for our live show for for the Red Pill, we're actually going to be watching live and doing commentary.
dude, I can't wait. I think that it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And from what I've seen of the guys on the show, it looks like we're going to have a great bit of discourse because I think I'll probably be disagreeing with them just a little bit, So it's going to
And
be good fun.
well, it is, and the thing is what I like about it is it's respectful. It's like nobody is looking for that gotcha moment. Nobody is trying to go after each other. It's just if somebody makes a statement about something, then the other person that disagrees, then they have an opportunity to be like, hey, you said this, but this is what I'm seeing. This is the data that I'm using. That and using that data, that statement that you made, I don't feel it holds water. And so it's not the like in this day and age, it seems like it's just too common that people like go after like a person's personal character or well, it happened with the Kita crew. Whenever we did our deep dive on Kita, they tried to dox you. They tried to call us idiots and say that.
Well, so is the doxing part that's actually a serious problem, man, because like anyone who is trying to dox you, dox your location, dox your identity, like that type of thing, the only reason to do that is for some type of violence or something
Well,
horrible. Like
and
there's
that's
no
what
real reason to do that. Like, look, it's one thing to, talk a little bit of shit online and, use some naughty words. But it's a whole other thing to then say, okay, well, I'm going to find out where you live. Like what? And that's what they did.
now, so Moneymaker XRP. I saw in the chat that you were talking about, and we love it when you're here. As again, we love differing opinions. But you made a very dangerous comment earlier. Yeah, and I don't mean like dangerous, like somebody's gonna die or anything.
No, no,
But
no. But people could get wrecked and lose money type dangerous.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you were saying that wait till XRP does like a 7,000 percent move or something like it did in 2018. That was a very different time. That was XRP was new, the market cap was low. It was all retail. There was no institutional anything. The tokenomics of XRP was totally different. There wasn't RLUSD, and we're going to get into all this on the deep dive. But you're basing your investment off of something that it did in the past. That's like saying that Bitcoin is going to go from what was it, a couple of cents when it first launched to like it's going to make a move similar to what it did in the past in the future. I don't see that happening. It's just that's a very dangerous way to look at it. I'll leave it at that.
Diminishing returns. And so, if Moneymaker XRP thinks that XRP is going to put in 1,000 bagger, okay, 1,000x return from here, what is 70 billion times 1,000? Like, I mean, come on, man. You think
it's out of the trillions and into the
so? Okay, so 70 billion times 10 would be 700 billion. So 70 billion times 100 would be 7 trillion. So 70 billion times like 1,000 would be 70 trillion. That's the market cap that he's saying it would go to. He's saying that it would go to 700 trillion. Come on, brother, that's ridiculous. Like that's just crazy talk,
Yeah. So and we'll get into that. I mean, this isn't just our opinion. We'll get into the facts. We'll get into the data. We're going to dissect, everything that's going on with XRP and Ripple. The bullish stuff and the bearish stuff. Some of the stuff that is bullish for Ripple isn't necessarily bullish for XRP. They have a lot of offerings that don't involve the XRPL and XRP. So, that's the dangerous, slippery slope that when you listen to a lot of content creators that are more interested in your likes and your clicks, than they are in educating you, it's potentially a very risky move because they're going to tell you what you want to hear, not the truth. And that's what we focus on here is we focus on just giving you the truth. What you do with that is up to you. If you want to be all in on XRP, none of our business. And it affects us in no way whatsoever.
So Mr. Zimmy, he actually ran the math. So 7 times 10 to the 13th power. So that's a big number, man. That's a big number. And like, how exactly does the XRP token get to 7 times 10 to the 13th power? I mean, so when I see, that comment from Moneymaker XRP, and what Mike is saying here is that we're going to get more information later on today during the call when we, run through that deep dive research. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big, big number. I don't see the market cap getting there, but, the math speaks for itself. The 13th power, really? So it's just kind of crazy to think that it could even get there at all.
Exactly. I mean, can you make money on XRP? Absolutely. Are you going to make generational wealth? I doubt it, unless you're, buying XRP at $1, for like $1 million worth, and it goes to $5, and so you have $5 million and you cash out. And I'm not saying it's going to get there, but I mean that's realistic. I mean, I could see XRP getting to $5 this next bull run, just on pure hype and mind share.
I don't know, man.
And it might not, but
I'm so anti XRP, dude.
That's at least realistic. When people start talking about $1,000 and $10,000, I'm like, no. But
so,
anyway,
Mike, what is this? SBI? What is this?
So SBI. So the news on this is that SBI Holdings is. So yeah, I'll just read through this. June 22nd, 2026, in conjunction with the name change, the company has also renewed its management structure and transitioned to a business structure focused on Canton Network, a public blockchain for financial institutions. In anticipation of the transition to on-chain finance, in which a wide range of financial products and financial transactions are realized on blockchain, SBI Holdings has positioned organizational reform and the provision of next generation financial services as one of its mid to long-term strategic objectives. Since the inception of Canton Network, the SBI Group has participated in a super validator, a core role responsible for approving and managing transactions on the network, and has worked to promote participation by institutional investors and expand the ecosystem. SBI Digital Practice Co., Ltd., will serve as a dedicated company responsible for driving these initiatives and aims to build an environment that enables financial institutions in Japan and other markets to participate in on-chain finance in compliance with applicable regulations. Specifically, the company will provide end-to-end support ranging from the planning and development of financial infrastructure and applications on Canton Network to implementation support for financial institutions in Japan and overseas, as well as the development of transaction infrastructure that crosses national borders and currencies. So Canton currently has more than 700 or 600 participating institutions, including major financial institutions and financial infrastructure providers such as Goldman Sachs, BNP Paribas, Broadridge, Franklin Templeton, and Euroclear. The scale of assets managed on the blockchain has expanded to more than 6 trillion. In addition to Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, the DTCC, the central clearinghouse for the U.S. securities market, has adopted Canton Network for the digital securitization of U.S. treasuries, reflecting the accelerating digitalization of traditional financial assets. So this is real adoption. I mean,
it is.
A lot of projects out there will hype MOUs, or they'll hype discussions, or they'll hype something as small as if the CEO of a company is sitting on the stage with a bank. Like that's some like hidden message that project is in a partnership with that other organization. That is why we are so focused on Canton is there is real adoption, real fees, and I don't know why so many people ignore it, but in a lot of posts they'll talk about like the top projects that generate fees and revenue, and they'll list like the top 10 and not mention Canton, which is the largest. And if you combine the next nine, it still is less than what Canton earns in fees and revenue, and that's from one customer and like a couple of small ones. But basically, Broadridge is what's the market share of the $2 to $3 million a day that it's generating in fees that go to the burn of the Canton token.
And it's probably just the very beginning too. You probably haven't seen anything yet. And I really do appreciate Moneymaker XRP in the chat, man. I really do.
I do. I do.
I mean, look, I obviously don't have a crystal ball. Could XRP perform well? Of course it could. Do I think that's likely? No. Same thing with XLM. I don't think that XRP or XLM are I think that they are, worthless. That's what I think.
Well, and I would tend to agree because, and again, we're going to show all the receipts. We're going to show all the data. And a lot of it is going to come because everything that we do on these deep dives, we cite our sources in the source document on our website. You can look at it at any time. You can fact check it as much as you want. And by all means, we welcome you. If you find where we got something wrong, please come into, go to the node.pro, message me or David, and I'll rerun it. If you can cite your source showing that we are wrong about something, please let us know. We genuinely are here to educate. We're not here to FUD a project. We're not here to hype a project. If you listen to us long enough, I'm very bullish on Arrow and Canton. David is the biggest bull on Arrow. And
I'm starting to come around now that we got that uni fee switch.
Yeah, but it's, we point out the negative aspects of those projects as well. I fully acknowledge that there is flaws in Arrow and in Canton. Canton right now is still inflationary. The burn does not outpace the mint. We will point out everything about a project. We are here to educate, not influence. We are not influencers.
Yeah, I mean, Moneymaker XRP, man, thank you. Thank you for the comments. For me, I'm not buying the top 10 alts. I'm buying three alts. Okay.
That's it. Some of them aren't in the top 10. I don't buy based off market cap because I honestly believe the market cap of a lot of these projects is a massive bubble.
Yeah.
And I'll use XRP because we're going to be talking about it. And Moneymaker, I know you're bullish on it. $70 billion market cap, based on what?
Right. Where's the value capture? We talk about the trifecta here at the Node.pro. We talk about real users and real user growth. I don't think XRP Ledger has any users. Very few. We're going to see that. We're going to see that in the evidence when we take a look at the deep dive. So, it's users and user growth. It's revenues and value capture.
Well, even if XRP was, let's say it was a stock in Ripple, and you valued Ripple, the company, as it sits now, if you did a real valuation on, the revenue that they generate, assets, all that stuff, would it be a $70 billion company? If XRP was a stock, which it's not.
So no. If Ripple Labs, the business, and remember, it's a private company, so it's difficult to get a window into how much revenue they generate and what their expenses are. But from the guesstimations that I've seen out there, it looks like their software business did $200 million in revenue last year. And they made between $2 and $3 billion by dumping XRP tokens. So let's be generous. Let's say that they did $3 billion by selling XRP tokens on dumping them on retail, and then they made another $200 million by whatever their software business is, that on-demand liquidity, however much they make on that. So let's say that they made $3 billion last year in top line revenue, right? So let's say that that's their top line.
That's a $15 billion valuation.
So let's say that that's their top line, and then Okay, but the token itself has a $70 billion market cap. So what, you're going to assign like, what is that? A 23x multiplier on those revenues? I don't see how that makes any sense at all.
And if you're going to invest in this stuff, that's how you need to start looking at them. You need to start looking at these assets. What part, how are those fees and revenues shared with you, the token holder? Because if they're not, you're holding a baseball jersey or a football jersey or a baseball card of your favorite crypto project. That means that the price and market cap is 100% based on speculation. And
so I really appreciate this comment from DCA and Prey. That's an interesting comment, saying the Canton coin is a $4.7 billion market cap, which is 20 times greater than what it should be worth. Okay, look, this is obviously open to interpretation, but if Canton Network is generating, let's call it $2 million a day, okay, $2 million a day. Let's call it $60 million a month.
And that's just the fees. That's not the other money that they make. That's just the fees that are being generated.
Right. So what is that annualized? We're talking about something like close to $700 million annualized. And that's organic, man. So what happens if that goes up? Well, what type of multiple would you apply to that? If XRP gets like a 20x revenues multiple, if you apply that same multiple to Canton's revenues, I would think that Canton coin should be valued at much, much greater than 4.7 billion. So I think that the Canton is showing real adoption. I just don't see the adoption on the XRP ledger. It's great to see Ripple Labs, generating remittance volumes. I think it was $100 billion in remittance volumes last year for Ripple Prime and ODL. That's great. But if you hold XRP, the token, you don't see any of that value. You see none of it. So the moment that XRP ledger, the moment that there's actual value being moved on XRP ledger, I'll change my tune. But I don't see it right now because it doesn't exist.
I won't, because I don't see, even if they're moving trillions of dollars a day, I don't see how XRP, other than being a gas token,
There's value accrual, right?
With the launch of RLUSD, it took a lot of the whole thesis. And the reason I bought, my over 40,000 tokens back in the day was because that, the whole thesis is that the XRPL was the rails and that XRP was the train that was going to move the value, and to move the trillions and trillions and trillions in cross-border payments, that XRP had to be a high value. And that made sense to me.
But it never made sense to me. Yeah, that never made sense to me at all.
But with RLUSD, that takes that away. And honestly, once the XRP is the rest of the use case is that doesn't use RLUSD. Once it is used, it can just be reused. So once it moves at $1 trillion, and they bought XRP, used it as the bridge asset, and they sell it on the other end, then it just goes back into circulation to be used again. It doesn't need to be a massive value.
And here's another thing too, Mike. Like, have you ever operated in DeFi on XRP Ledger or attempted to?
No, because there is no DeFi on the XRP.
Right. It's like they've got like one dApp and it doesn't work. It's like, what? And this is a chain that's been around. It's like one of the oldest chains. That's like one of my big problems with it.
Let's we'll be doing a huge deep dive on this. We can talk about this more later, but and we might find stuff that debunks what some of me and David are saying in the deep dive. Because again, we mean this to be an unbiased deep dive, and so we ran it. We didn't prompt it in any way or try to influence it in any way. I just asked it. I gave it parameters. I just said, tell us about the XRP token and its functionality. I asked it to look into the current partnerships and what that means for the XRP token and RLUSD, and it's going to lay it all out. I did not inject any bias into it.
And so I see what DCA and Prey says about Stellar. So you would need to first get started with a freight. It's called Freighter, I think. I've got it, the Freighter wallet for XLM Stellar. Once you get set up with that Freighter wallet, then you would head on over to DeFi Llama, type in Stellar in the search bar, and there is DeFi on Stellar. I think the biggest protocol is called Blend, which is just a liquidity protocol. And I'm taking a look at Blend right now, and if I launch the app, so after launching the app, I'm taking a look at markets here.
Do you want to show it?
And yeah, so look, I do this stuff for a living, you guys, and taking a look at this DApp here. Let me just go ahead and share my screen, Mike, so that we can take a look at this together. Let's take a look at this DApp. So this is the largest DApp on XLM Stellar. And you got...
I'll just say this UI.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So let's take a look at the markets. You've got... This is a liquidity. This is a DEX, basically. This is like a liquidity pool, like liquidity provision, decentralized exchange here. And you take a look at the markets. Okay, we've got a fixed pool. This is version 2. So this is full range liquidity provision, and supplied $181 million. So this is, if this is fixed pool, this looks more like a money market to me. If there's a supplied amount and a borrowed amount, then this is a money market, not a pool. So, okay. And then, yeah, I mean, it looks like, so let's just take a look at this. This looks like the largest pool. Okay, this pool's frozen. Okay, so it looks like there's actually only one pool with any decent size. And it says fixed pool, but when I see supplied and borrowed, that makes me think money market, not liquidity provision. So I'm going to go ahead and click through to this. And we've got max positions. What does this mean? So the total number of supply and borrow positions that can be open in this pool is 6. What? Like, what? And then the APR for the pool backstop is 43%. What exactly does this mean? So it looks like the supply asset is mostly XLM Stellar, but it doesn't give me US dollar terms. Now, if I see USDC, like 61.8 million USDC, that tells me, okay, that's $61.8 million, okay? But if I see 673 million XLM, well, what's the price of XLM? Isn't it like 15 cents or something like that? So this must be, somewhere around $100 million of XLM. So the collateral factor, 75%, that's your LTV. The collateral factor here at 95%, again, that's your LTV. So like number one, right off the bat, the UI UX here is horrible, okay? The second thing is I can't tell how to actually use this. And I operate in DeFi full time. Like this is, dude, I've operated on like every chain that you can possibly operate on. And so this is, yeah, man, like, look, if you're running a chain, it has to be easy to use. If you're building a DApp or a product, it's got to be easy to use. And
that's you're not going to onboard people. As much as I dislike decentralized exchanges like Coinbase and stuff like that, you can't ignore that onboarding is a massive part of technology. If people can't onboard their liquidity, if it's too complicated, if it's too convoluted, if it doesn't work right, people are going to go to where it's easy. That's just human nature. They're going to go to where, with a couple of clicks, they can onboard liquidity, enter a position, and earn yield.
So look, just because DeFi exists on a particular chain doesn't mean that it's usable or good. Stellar is a great example. Yeah, there are dApps on Stellar, but the native dApps aren't very good. We just took a look at the largest one, and yes, there are dApps on Cardano, but there's no liquidity there either. So it's not usable. And I see.
Yeah, hey Scott, if you want to jump on, shoot me a message. I'll send you a link. Yeah, we're going to be talking about doing a deep dive on XRP here in a bit. But
and Don D, you see what he said there about getting a response from CypherRock. So I did get a response from CypherRock, and I keep getting responses from them between like 4 and 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, which tells me that they're likely in a different time zone. And, I bought the X1 vault. And my understanding was that I could self-custody CC in that X1 vault. But I got a response from one of the guys over there. His name is Vivek. And Vivek told me that I actually needed to buy the vault and the card together, or I won't be able to manage funds. And then I also saw that there was some problem with their software. So I just asked him for a refund. And what he told me was, okay, we'll process a refund, but you're going to have to wait because there's some problem with our systems. It's like it's got to clear or something. It's like, brother, I sent you USDC. Like, send me the USDC back. Like, I've used now payments. I've set up now payments for businesses that I've built. Like, you get that money instantly. Like, dude, just refund me,
Yeah.
And so I sent him another email this morning, first thing saying, where's my refund, bro?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Come on. Like, what's going on? Yeah.
So right before, I want to jump into some of this news, but I do want to address, just because it was directed, specifically at me, 15 billion valuation. Wall Street says they're valued at 50 billion. Are you smarter than Wall Street, Mike? So if Wall Street is saying that something is valued at 50 billion, they're talking about Ripple. They're not talking about XRP.
Ripple Labs, right? Ripple Labs. Yeah.
Big difference. Very, very big difference. And if you don't understand that difference,
but also, Mike, think about how they get to that valuation. So that valuation is a multiple of revenues. So if Ripple's revenues are mostly from dumping XRP on retail, that's not a good look, man. It's not a good look any way you slice it,
No. So, all right, let's get into some other news. We got about 20 minutes before the deep dives, and we can talk about XRP till our ears bleed. All right. So it looks like Visa advances multi-coin strategy with open USD support. So Visa CEO Ryan McClerney reconfirmed the company's commitment to a multi-chain, multi-token approach for settlement. In addition to existing USDC and USDT rails, Visa's stablecoin platform is adding support for Open USD. We did a deep dive on that. That's the coin that all of the banks got together and created. And a governance-focused stablecoin initiative backed by over 140 industry partners. So
I saw a little statistic it must have been last night or maybe the day before. So Visa is just killing MasterCard when it comes to adoption of digital rails. It's not even close. It's like 99% of the adoption is going to Visa, and MasterCard's just getting left in the dust, man.
Yeah. All right. So there it is. So let's go through this a little bit. Oh shit, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is I know Visa is actually, they've signed up with a lot of different, crypto companies, and to go multi-chain, and with interoperability, liquidity can move across, multiple, different chains. You see a lot of interoperability because of Chainlink and other things, but with Solana, Ethereum, Canton Network, even Bitcoin, mainnet, we're starting to see a lot of interoperability there. And but the question is, what is on those chains that would require somebody to want to move liquidity across it or onto it? And that's why we focus so much on dApps and DeFi, is because if there's nothing built on it, why would anybody want to move liquidity across it or onto it?
So, the thing that I think about with Visa and OUSD is the competition between OUSD and Tether and Circle. So, when you hold USDT, that's Tether's product, or USDC, that's Circle's product, by law, you can't earn any of that yield, which is pretty shitty, I think. And so these banks, they also don't earn that yield. Tether and Circle do, because you got to understand how these stablecoins are minted. So Tether and Circle buy treasuries, mint, USDC and USDT against those treasuries. And then they keep that treasury yield. They make a ton of money, extremely profitable businesses. And these banks, they see that and they're like, hey, where's our cut, man? And they're not getting any from Tether or Circle. So they decided, hey, why don't we all get together and just mint our own stable, OUSD, and then that way we can keep that yield for ourselves. That's exactly what they're doing. So I would not be surprised to see OUSD become one of the most widely adopted stablecoins, especially as Visa starts to just eat the digital asset rails market, especially for these in-person payments. I live my life using these neobank cards, and they're all Visas. All of them are Visas. So I think Visa is going to win. I think OUSD is going to win. And as of right now, Tether is definitely winning, but Circle, man, Circle better watch out. They got to be careful. So, and I see what Longview Compute is saying.
Yeah, the chat is talking about the Cypher Rock. I actually dropped him a link. I DM'd him on X. If Scott, if you want to jump on and talk about it. But I'm seeing a lot of people that have Cypher Rocks and they're using them, but I don't know if they know, or I don't even know if it's accurate. But somebody in our chat said that they hadn't done a software update in quite some time, which is concerning. So we would need to check that out.
Yeah. So I plan to fix your internal chat. So DSI, what do you mean? Because I've been working on it almost every day. So yeah, it should definitely be working for you right now.
I know DSI was saying that he really wants to join via his X account. He doesn't want to use his email.
Yeah,
but
so
sorry, dude. I mean, it's like the API. Trying to dial in, and David's working on it. Trying to dial in that API is
Scott. There you are.
Hang on, fixing my audio. Hang on. I'm going to echo you guys. There we go. Let me get out of this. Okay, so real quick, because I got to do my live stream, but I want to help you guys out with the Cypher Rock.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to learn more. So what has your experience been with it?
I've had no issue whatsoever. So quick explainer. You do need to have the vault and the card, right? Let me grab mine. I have it right here on my desk. So your vault and your card, right? So the vault has to be hooked up to the computer. This stores your seed phrase. So you don't need a seed phrase. This stores it, and you access this with a PIN. And then to do anything, you have to put in your PIN and tap your card to the vault while it's all hooked up to the computer. So it's extra secure in that way, and it doesn't give you a seed phrase to lose. But if you lose one of these, you can recover it with two of these, right? So my personal set has 4 cards and 1 vault. So it's very similar to Tangem in that way.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of Tangems. I really like Tangem, but at the same time, I don't like the fact that you need to use that mobile app. Like, I don't really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah, and so I've got a question for you. What happens if Cypher Rock, the company, goes out of business and they cease to exist? What would happen in that case?
You still can access your wallet. They are insured and supported, so you'll still be able to access your wallet. I'm actually going to have Cypher Rock on the stream very soon. They reached out to me. They're doing a new hardware wallet very, very soon. I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about that, but it's going to be the cheapest and easiest wallet that they've done. And when people talk about they haven't done a new software update, I thought software updates to hardware wallets was a major risk, right? That's why you haven't seen updates to Ledger or Tangem or Elipal or Decent, because if you're doing software updates to a hardware wallet, that compromises it if you get a bad software update.
That's true.
Well, that's also why you don't see support for Canton from those other wallets, because they don't speak the language yet, and you're not going to see them on those wallets until they release new hardware because of that.
So Scott, my goal with purchasing a Cypher Rock was, number one, I want to be able to self-custody on a hardware device, a hardware wallet, CC. That was the only goal. But in addition to that, I really wanted to be able to use CC from that Cypher Rock on Canton Network DeFi.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. I'm working with them. I'm beating them in the head for it to get Wallet Connect done, because my app, I've actually launched Wallet Connect with Braun. the first and only app and wallet to do it on the Canton network. So the pipeline is there. They just need to start implementing.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I don't know, man.
We're gonna have Alpend on Tuesday, and David, I would love for one of the questions that you ask him to be, kind of what wallets are going to be supported, and things like that, because that's going to be important if people want to access that DeFi platform.
Canton Loop.
Yep. Got set up with that. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing,
add Wallet Connect, because like you were just talking about, Scott, a lot of the hardware wallets and stuff, that seems to be what allows kind of that interoperability.
Right. Well, those other hardware wallets just don't speak the language. They physically cannot support Canton without new hardware.
Yeah.
That's why Ledger's dragging their feet. Ledger's a freaking validator or super validator or validator. So, I mean, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they can't until they launch hardware. So when I was building my app, I did meetings with Ledger, Tangem, Decent, LA Pal, because I wanted all of them to work with my app, obviously. And when meeting with them, that's basically what it come down to is the hardware doesn't support it. And not only does the hardware not support it, there's not enough retail interest for them to launch another hardware to support it specifically for that reason. Like there won't be enough people to buy the hardware wallet. So once they do new hardware, we should see more support.
So why do you think that CipherRock was able to support Canton so quickly?
Because they launched new hardware right after. They launched their vault because they were working on this for a Bitcoin only wallet to begin with. So Canton happened to launch right out, and Canton partnered with them and worked with them. So there was cold storage support. They were just one of the first movers on it, honestly. Happened to line up when they were dropping new hardware.
Amazing. That's good. That's really great.
No, I have the product man. I'm looking at the product manager's Telegram right now. So like I'm reaching out to them, I'll reach out to Vivek and let him know what you're doing, but they are a solid wallet. I've been using them for months now.
Got it. Good. Well, that's good to hear, because I was a little bit, unhappy with the customer service, and a little bit unhappy with the UI of the website, because I paid using USDC on Arbitrum, and I paid the exact amount, and I got an error immediately. I never got any email communications from them. I had to reach out multiple times via email and Telegram just to get a response. I did get a response. I think everything's going to be okay, but there's something about trust in crypto.
Very much so.
I need that trust. And so my very first experience was not the best. And so how exactly am I going to self-custody CC on a device where I didn't exactly have a great experience from the get-go? Right. So that's not to say that there's nothing wrong with it. There probably is. It's probably a great product. It's just, maybe it's me. It's not them. Right. It's me.
No, it's not you. That's the retail experience. Right. Retail's been burned 20 different ways from Sunday across crypto. Like, everyone's skittish. You know what? And they should be.
Dude, I'm starting to wonder if I need to put a ball gag in, and crypto's my daddy or something. It's like getting beat up hard.
The thing that sucks is my absolute favorite wallet for Canton is not a cold storage wallet, and it's not directly connected to the DeFi programs that you guys are talking about, but it's the Braun wallet, and
that's
you have to pay for it.
No, that's what I use. And to be fair, for the $20 a month that I pay, it's like two CC. It's not a lot, but like 2 CC a day is what I get, and that could end up being worth more than $20 down the road. So that's kind of
stake the Braun token.
What's that?
I just stake the Braun token. So when I'm done using the wallet, I just skedaddle.
I actually was doing that where I entered into where it was like 10,000 Braun tokens and 10,000 CC. And for a while I was earning like 50 to 60 Canton a day. And then that went away. So basically I was only earning the 2 from having the membership. And finally I just swapped out of the Braun token. And due to slippage, because of a lack of liquidity, I lost about $50.
Yeah.
And so it kind of negated, whatever I did earn. But like I said, now I'm just paying for the membership and getting those, 2 cc a day. But again, down the road, that 2 cc a day that I'm earning over months and, maybe years might be worth quite a bit.
Right. Well, not only that, but I mean, you in some situations you get what you pay for, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the ability to stake directly from your wallet, the ability to,
but you guys, why should you have to pay to use a wallet? Like, can you name another wallet that you have to pay to use?
Every hardware wallet.
Well, not another hot wallet though, not another software wallet.
No,
there's a lot
wallet.
of functionality. There's a lot of functionality, and that comes with the Braun wallet. Like, one of the things that I like is that I gave my brother Taylor, where like if something happens to me, he has access to it. So I don't have to worry about if my family can't find my seed phrases and shit like that. So anything I have in my Braun wallet, if something happens to me, he can actually recover that. He can't do it with unless something happened to me. But
there's a 6-month delay on that too, to verify that something isn't going on, right? So it's not like your guardians can team up against you and take your crypto, right? That's not how that works.
So Scott, I've got a question for you, because during the show earlier this week, I took a look through every single Canton wallet that is shown on cantonnews.org, every single one. And I was able to set up Loop Wallet, no problem. But I wasn't able to set up any of the others because they all require, an invite code or permission. And so that is just something that I am not used to at all with any other software wallet. Like, why is it, do you think, that all of these Canton wallets are like invite only or gated in some way?
It's because they're all so new. They are all so new. Like most of these wallets that you're looking at have been live for less than a few months. So by them putting gating access, it just essentially prevents anyone from flooding in and creating like hundreds of prevents spam, essentially. But it's just another way for them to harden and secure the network. And then as they have been there longer and learned more and gotten their security done, it's becoming more easy and less gated. Like you just did Loop. Loop was one of the first wallets, right? OneSwap version 2.0 just launched their wallet. Like Grofty just launched a wallet. So, but the two oldest ones, Loop and Braun, right in. So a lot of them are just new.
You think that's the same reason why many of the dApps on Canton Network, are gated still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, Alpen's only been live on the mainnet for a couple months. Same with OneSwap. So a lot of these places are either in like early beta or still late stage beta or just went live. So I think that's a big part of it, and also a big part of the reason why a lot of these dApps are having to gate is because of the reduction in liquidity. I know you like to talk about OneSwaps. You just talked about slippage. Because it's a new economy on the Canton network, there's just not a ton of liquidity right now. And that's another reason why they have to gate things too.
Yeah, not a ton of retail facing liquidity anyway.
Scott strongly agrees.
Yes, strongly agree with that. I haven't changed it since I was on CoinVault.
Well,
but you guys are going to be doing that soon.
I've got a quick question for you, Scott. Yeah, but before I know you probably got to run, man. But one more question: do you think that liquidity is going to be fragmented on the Canton network between dApps, or are these dApps going to be able to share liquidity between one another?
I believe they are going to be sharing liquidity between one another because a lot of them come from the same place. So things are separate, but they're not, right? So you have to look behind the scenes, look who's involved. When you look at Palladium Labs, Draper. When you look at Alpend, Draper. When you look at OneSwap, Draper. So, I mean, when you look at all these different places, their interoperability is going to be key, and liquidity is coming to the Canton network. So that is going to change. There was a little bit of fallout with the stablecoin provider that's being resolved, and we should see a lot more liquidity in the very near future.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And, Mike, Scott, today, first thing this morning, man, when I woke up, I was taking a look at University of Florida, and I enrolled in a master's program there, or applied for it. It's basically smart contract design and protocol design. So it's at their engineering school. It's going to be great, man. And starts.
You're going to come out of it
20th.
knowing more than me, because I just, I just learned this stuff on the fly.
I know, right? I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. I do have to prep for my live stream in 4 minutes, but glad I could hop on and answer those questions about Cypher Rock for y'all for sure.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll catch y'all later.
All right, take care.
Peace.
All right, so really quick, we got about 4 minutes before the deep dives, but this is a potentially bullish news for XRP. Doppler Finance launches institutional yield infrastructure for Coinbase wrapped XRP on Base. So Doppler Finance expanded its institutional grade yield protocol to Base using Coinbase wrapped XRP as its initial launch asset. The move gives non-EVM asset holders direct access to native EVM lending, borrowing, and collateralized credit strategies without relying on unbonded bridges. What does that mean to you?
Well, I'm just thinking to myself that if I've got native XRP on the XRP ledger, that maybe there's a way to use Doppler Finance to use that native XRP within EVM chain dApps. But a reason why I think that may not be the case is, well, then why would you need Coinbase wrapped XRP? So CB XRP. So XRP runs on the XRP ledger, but EVM-based DeFi protocols like Ethereum and Base, they can't natively interact with it. So it looks like Coinbase is solving this using Coinbase wrapped XRP. So Coinbase
it's been out for quite some time.
Right. So Coinbase wrapped XRP is an ERC20 token. It looks like it's issued on the Base chain. And it's fully backed 1-for-1 with physical XRP stored in Coinbase's regulated institutional custody vault. So it looks like there is an institutional bridge too. So similar to Coinbase wrapped BTC, CBBTC, and Coinbase wrapped Ethereum, CBETH, Coinbase wrapped XRP, that's CBXRP, gives institutions holding XRP with Coinbase an easy compliance cleared gateway onto layer 2 EVM networks. Okay, but why does this mean number go up for the XRP token or coin? Why is there value accrual for the XRP coin?
It doesn't. It just I think that the story is more of it adds it adds some DeFi. It adds a bit of DeFi for the XRP token.
Sure. I mean, hey, that's always a big net positive to be able to do something with Coinbase wrapped XRP on the Base chain. That could be cool because as of right now, the only time I've been able to use a wrapped version of XRP has been on the BNB chain on Venus, which is a big money market on the BNB chain. So Doppler Finance, I've never used Doppler. Oh, Doppler Finance. I know what this is. This is that really shitty dApp on XRP ledger.
So Moneymaker, this isn't a year old. This is July 30th of 2026 at 03:28 Greenwich Mean Time. This isn't a year old, brother.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm trying to be, as generous as I can with the XRP ledger and XRP, but man, I'm really looking forward to that deep dive research today, Mike, because, I think, number one, I think that deep dive research is going to be more positive than I am. And I want to learn from that research. Maybe there are some things that I don't know about it,
And this is further, Moneymaker this is from Doppler Finance's X account. On the 29th of July, Doppler is expanding to Base, starting with infrastructure for Coinbase wrapped XRP and paving the way of more tokenized assets over time. We're bringing institutional grade infrastructure for tokenized capital markets to Base. Doppler with Base. So this isn't old, brother. This is new. All right. Let's see one last one before we get into the deep dives. it's going to implode, and then a lot of retailers are going to sell. Then the whales are going to buy it up, and then it's going to explode. Well, you know what? That's a great segue into a deep dive on XRP. Let's take
Sweet.
a look and see if with all the facts, if kind of what we all think is going to happen.
Remember, facts, not FUD. So let's go ahead and hop in. We've got the Intel library here. And for anyone who is interested in joining us as we run through this piece of deep dive research, if you click through to the node.pro, and then you take a look at the Intel library here, and then you see where it says share to source room. So the source room is our proprietary, this is basically like our proprietary X or proprietary Discord or proprietary Telegram. You could think of it as a mix of all three. And I've been working on building this out, so there's a lot more functionality to come over here. This is going to actually get turned into a legit mobile app here. Maybe over the weekend. I think I'll have time to do that over the weekend. So I just posted in the source room all of that institutional research on XRP. So for anyone who wants to follow along, the node.pro, click on the Intel library, and then the very first piece of research here is about XRP. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and let's learn a little bit more about the XRP ledger and Ripple Labs. Here we go.
Ripple Prime currently processes over $3 trillion in annual clearing volume across its institutional client base and holds an investment-grade BBB credit rating. The entity operates formally as a registered broker-dealer with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. It also maintains active registration as a Futures Commission merchant with the CFTC. Ripple recently completed a proof-of-concept pilot program with the DTCC, facilitating the atomic settlement of tokenized U.S. Treasury securities and real-world assets outside traditional banking hours. Underpinning many of these enterprise workflows is Ripple USD, or RLUSD, a fiat-backed stablecoin whose circulating market capitalization quickly scaled to $1.56 billion.
I think it's actually much greater than that now, Mike. I think it's like, isn't it approaching 3 billion? RLUSD?
Last I looked a couple of days ago, it was like 1.08 billion.
So everything that the narrator just said there, those are big positives for Ripple, Ripple Labs.
Absolutely.
I want everyone to think, as we're going through this piece of deep dive research, where is the value accrual to the XRP coin?
Ripple Labs operates a highly regulated corporate fintech network embedded directly inside traditional capital markets infrastructure. There is a persistent assumption in retail markets that rising institutional adoption of Ripple's corporate software automatically drives value into the public XRP token.
Wow, this is great, Mike. And so the question in the chat from DCA and Pray, and thank you for the question, man. Is this AI generated? Yes, yes, it is. And it's based on source material that is posted in the Intel library. So if you want to review that source material, maybe you find something in there that's inaccurate. Point it out.
The last couple of pages of the source document has all hyperlinked primary sources. So this isn't our opinion. This isn't something that we generated. It was generated from Ripple, the website, from primary sources. Feel free to fact check.
And I see Moneymaker XRP is saying it's 12T, not 3. So I'm assuming that you mean 1.2 billion, not 3 billion for RLUSD. That's my assumption there.
The public XRP ledger operates with 0 protocol yield, 0 staking rewards, and 0 programmatic revenue sharing mechanisms for token holders.
Ouch. That sucks.
When transactions execute on the ledger, 100% of the collected fees are permanently burned and removed from the total supply. None of those fees are routed to node operators or decentralized treasuries. While Ripple Prime and the company's SaaS licensing divisions generate substantial commercial revenue,
when it says substantial, remember, Ripple Labs is a private company, so they don't have to disclose any financial data if they don't want to. But you can kind of sort of guesstimate those revenues. My understanding of the revenues is that it was last year in 2025 between $200 and $300 million for their SaaS business, which is great. To see Ripple Labs operating a successful software as a service fintech. Awesome. That's great. That's good news. Why does that mean the XRP coin number go up, though?
Public ledger itself produces zero cash flow.
Ugh.
This split-screen matrix contrasts these two realities: rising corporate revenue lines on one side and zero yield indicators on the other.
Ouch.
Evaluating this ecosystem accurately requires strictly separating private corporate equity mechanics from public protocol tokenomics.
Exactly.
Ripple Labs generates fiat revenue across 4 distinct commercial categories: enterprise software licensing, prime brokerage clearing spreads, institutional custody fees, and the interest yield generated by RLUSD.
So let me just back this up real quick. Did you guys all see the revenues right there? So let me just go ahead and see if I can pause it. So the revenues from RLUSD are greater than all the rest of the revenues here. Now, I think that this total from 2025 was like 250 million. And so Moneymaker XRP is, I believe, incorrectly claiming that there were 12 trillion in payments done through Ripple Prime. I believe that figure was closer to $95 billion last year, not 12 trillion.
Yield generated by RLUSD. That $1.56 billion RLUSD market capitalization is backed
that was
entirely by a segregated portfolio
1.5
of highly
trillion.
liquid traditional assets.
Hey, David,
Was that
real
Mike?
quick.
Yeah.
Oh, just it was showing on that graphic. It said 1.5 billion, but that graphic said 1.5 trillion. I just want to point out that the graphic was incorrect. That the number, and I put it in the chat. And I just looked it up on DeFi Llama. It's 1.56 billion is the TVL for RLUSD.
Right. So, and Moneymaker, you're incorrectly understanding what a network effect is. There are no users on the XRP ledger. No revenues flow to the treasury from the XRP ledger. That means there's no value capture for the XRP token. So, I don't see the value in the XRP coin.
Backed entirely by a segregated portfolio of highly liquid traditional assets. These reserves consist explicitly of US dollar cash deposits and short-term US Treasury bills. Because these billions in Treasury reserves continuously mature, they generate a highly predictable, rolling stream of net interest margin.
Can you
This
pause it right
flowchart
there?
maps.
Sure.
So they're talking about RLUSD here, and
Right.
that is one of the revenue streams that it mentioned before. That because of the U.S. legislation, where a stable coin to be compliant has to be backed 1-to-1 with the U.S. dollar or U.S. dollar equivalent. And Ripple, just like Circle and everybody else, because their stable coins have to be backed 1-to-1, they buy treasuries because treasuries generate yield, and by law they can't share that. So that is basically revenue. They can generate revenue from that yield, and that's what they're doing with RLUSD. And one of the reasons that they launched it.
And so you've also got to think to yourself, well, if we know that the Ripple Labs software business, the fintech, last year generated roughly $250 million in top line revenue, but the majority of that, I think greater than half, was just treasury yield, then that means that their actual fintech business actually really sucks. Doesn't make any money.
But it also means that none of that yield, is, or even if they wanted to, could be shared with the XRP, token holders.
Right. So let's keep playing this. Let's see what else it says.
Exactly where that fiat interest goes. The yield routes directly and exclusively into the Ripple Labs corporate balance sheet.
Yeah.
Holding the XRP token grants zero legal claim to these corporate earnings or reserve yields, establishing a strict separation between cryptographic utility and traditional equity rights. The XRP ledger maintains consensus through a federated Byzantine agreement model, operating independently of the corporate entity. Unlike conventional proof of work or proof of stake systems, this network offers zero block rewards. The protocol contains strict economic constraints. The Genesis supply is hard-capped, meaning zero new tokens are ever minted or issued to the validators who propose and ratify ledger blocks. Because every transaction fee is permanently destroyed upon execution, processing ledger states represents a net operational cost for validators.
Wow.
Institutions and exchanges absorb these costs and run nodes to guarantee direct network access, protect ledger stability, and participate in protocol amendment voting. This zero-reward architecture successfully eliminates all inflationary sell pressure on the token, but it also completely removes the capital.
So inflationary sell pressure on the token from node operators, but not from Ripple. Ripple just keeps dumping the thing. And I see Moneymaker XRP saying that I'm correct. There are no use cases yet. Institutions need clarity to legally deal with regulated assets. Brother, this is what they've been saying for years. Just don't you worry. Tomorrow it'll happen.
And everyone is that uses this narrative is missing entirely the underlying the minefield that the XRP token. It doesn't matter how much adoption there is on the XRPL. It doesn't matter, what institutions get clarity, and it doesn't matter. The XRP token lacks any value capture. There's no benefit to you, the token holder, other than speculative buys of the XRP token, because it doesn't matter how much yield they earn on RLUSD. It doesn't matter how much fees, the gas, the XRP token is burned, during the process of paying for gas, but it's so minuscule that it would take over 5,000 years just to burn 10% of the supply at max.
Right. So there's no value capture, and also the big problem for me is this is one of the oldest protocols in crypto, and these guys shipped exactly nothing for years and years and years. And it's like, okay, so the narrative was always changing, and it was always, oh, you know what, tomorrow, maybe when this happens, then it'll take over Swift, or when this happens, then the banks just need clarity, or it's always been bullshit. Always.
This is what we teach here. We're presenting facts, we're presenting data, and we're citing our sources. Moneymaker, please, if you're still listening, do not run from facts and data. You need to listen. It might be painful. It might go against all the bullish, propaganda that you've been, indoctrinated into.
And that's exactly what it is too, Mike. It's propaganda.
It's do not run from facts and data. Embrace it. It doesn't mean you have to sell your XRP, but you need to listen to the uncomfortable, as well as the stuff that gives you the endorphin hits.
Yeah, and so I appreciate the comment from DCA and Prey here. He's saying that doesn't mean that value capture won't happen. Well, my understanding from what I know of the XRP ledger is that it's designed such that there is no value capture. That's a problem, right? So if you're saying, well, there may be, hopefully could be value capture in the future, like, is that a good way to invest? I don't think that is.
I honestly don't even think that there's a way that they can make changes to the tokenomics of XRP. Am I wrong?
I don't think that there is either. And I see what Moneymaker just said also, that SBI Japan buying XRP. I'm assuming he means their hand over fist. Well, I don't think that that's true. I saw that. It looked like a press release. I haven't seen any verification of any of that.
And let's say that they did. Let's say that they did. They bought a bunch of XRP, and
right, exactly. And what does that mean for you? Nothing.
Compounding mechanisms that exist on other public blockchains. A network with negligible transaction fees and no validator rewards is highly vulnerable to state bloat and denial of service floods.
Yeah.
This digital vault schema demonstrates the base account reserve. Upon activation, the ledger permanently locks 1 XRP inside the wallet. The vault then expands to freeze an additional 0.2 XRP for every new ledger item created, like a trust line holding RLUSD. As institutional users instantiate hundreds of thousands of new accounts and trust lines, these operational balance requirements act as massive structural liquidity sinks, freezing tokens out of active circulation. During standard operations, executing a transfer incurs a baseline gas cost of 10 drops, a fraction of a single cent, which is immediately destroyed. As transaction submission queues flood, the dynamic fee multiplier scales quadratically. It rapidly incinerates the capital of attacking accounts while preserving throughput for prioritized traffic. The economic value capture of XRP relies entirely on these forced scarcity mechanics, programmatic lockups, and continuous supply destruction, rather than traditional yield generation. The strict exception to this zero yield rule is the ledger's native automated market maker protocol, activated under the XLS30 standard.
Has anyone actually used this? Like anyone in the chat? Like I've tried to figure out how to use this. Maybe I haven't tried hard enough, but I would love for anyone in the chat who has used this before. I would love for them to give me a link so that we can go ahead and use this together. And KMS Sports, thanks for watching us, bro.
Yeah, you're watching us.
You're watching.
And
diagram
KMS
illustrates.
Yeah.
That is one that I can't stress enough that without even watching all of the information, you went straight to trying to make personal attacks, which we don't care. We're just going to laugh.
I don't care either. Yeah.
But what does that say about you that you aren't open to new information? And if you're going to invest and immediately dismiss everything that we're saying just because it goes against your investment thesis, I feel for you. I honestly
know,
do.
Man. Yeah, it's sad. Like you should want, if you've got an investment thesis, you should want to try to disprove that. And you know what? If you can't disprove it, then hey, you probably got a solid thesis, but you need to let other data in.
A geometric mean trading pool balancing assets like XRP and RLUSD. When trades execute against the pool, an extracted percentage fee routes directly and exclusively back into the specific LP tokens held by active liquidity providers.
Who are these active liquidity providers that you speak of? Because I've never been able to even use that native DEX on the XRP ledger. I'm assuming it's real, but I've never been able to figure out how to use it.
To be fair, there are some ways that you can use DeFi with like CBXRP and things like that.
Completely different. Completely different.
It is. No, it is. But but there are, to be fair, there are ways that you could use your XRP to earn yield. But it's not going to be on the XRPL.
Different. So this is talking about the XRPL. So I know, but I'm saying that there is ways that if you have XRP and you want to earn yield, you can bridge it over to the base network, and you can go to Aerodrome and other places, and you can provide liquidity. You see what Paulo says in the chat, Mike? I've never met those active liquidity providers.
Oh yeah. No, like I said, we want to be fully transparent. We want to educate people here. We're not here to FUD XRP or Ripple. We're here to present facts. And the fact is that if you have XRP and you want to bridge it over to Coinbase wrapped XRP, there's places that you can do liquidity provision and things like that.
Passive token holders receive zero economic benefit from the trading volume flowing through these pools. Capturing yield on the XRP ledger requires actively supplying capital to these markets, forcing participants to assume direct and permanent loss risk. In enterprise cross-border payments, the corporate client initiates a transfer that first converts a source fiat currency, like the Japanese yen, into a localized on-ledger IOU. The ledger's native pathfinding engine evaluates multi-hop paths across an algorithmic tree to find the lowest slippage. The optimal route illuminates, executing an atomic swap that liquidates the fiat IOU into the native XRP bridge, instantly converting it to the target currency. XRP functions exclusively as a highly transient bridge asset with a 3 to 5 second velocity, while RLUSD operates alongside it as a persistent, low-volatility collateral asset. The token is engineered specifically to absorb foreign exchange conversion risk during microsecond execution windows, not to serve as static balance sheet collateral for institutional treasuries. The primary headwind to this valuation model is the scheduled release of 1 billion XRP tokens from corporate escrow on the first day of every month. While portions of this capital are typically returned to new escrow contracts, the steady influx of circulating supply requires continuous secondary market demand and structural reserve locks to prevent dilution. There is a strict, legally defined operational firewall separating the equity growth of Ripple Labs from the open source protocol. The long-term economic drivers
Right.
for XRP are limited explicitly to micro-deflationary fee burns, mandatory protocol-level liquidity sinks, and algorithmic bridge demand. True institutional analysis demands evaluating the token purely on its cryptographic utility and structural scarcity, completely divorced from the commercial software revenues generated by its original architects.
Yeah. So basically, there's no there. There's no value at all. It's programmed to be valueless. And yet, it's got a $70 billion market cap somehow.
Just shy of 70 billion.
68 billion? I mean, dude, this is 100% from people on social media who shill this thing and convince people who are uneducated to buy it. Like, that's the only reason why this has a market cap above zero.
I was one of those. I knew nothing.
I never was.
I knew nothing about crypto. I had never invested. I'm a retired, military guy. That I have a lot of skill sets, but investing was not one of them. I had built my cabin. I went down to town to get me some dinner, and was scrolling through social media, waiting for my food. Ran into Shiba Inu, and that got me into crypto. And I ran into all the XRP hype. I watched all the usual suspects. I watched Mickle. I watched Good Morning Crypto and Coach JV, and all of the usual suspects. And I, like a lot of people in our chat, I believed it all because I didn't know. But they said it very convincingly. They stated things as a matter of fact. They had it all sounded good. That it was a bridge currency and that they was going to have to move massive value, so it needed to have a high valuation. And I was, okay, makes sense to me. I'm going to buy some, and I DCA'd into it, and I was in the top 2% of token holders. I had over 40,000 XRP, and at an average buy-in of 34 cents, 30 to 34 cents, and I held on to it. And when it started pumping this last time, I sold at $2 because I knew. With the launch of RLUSD and all of this stuff, because I started doing deep dives. Because when the court case settled, it was supposed to pump. When certain adoption happened, it was supposed to pump. When we got clarity, it was supposed to pump. All these different instances where it was supposed to pump and it never did. Then I started doing more research, and that's what got me to start this channel. Was the mistakes that I made early on in crypto. Me and Jeff wanted to share the mistakes that we made so that we could save other people from making the same mistakes. And what you do with this information, I don't care. If this leads you to want to sell your XRP, that's up to you. If you want to hold it, that's up to you. We're not trying to get anybody to do anything with their XRP. We're simply trying to educate you. All we ask here is just be open to the information and go to the source document on the node.pro, go to the bottom, and I'm going to show you real quick because it's so important that you do this. So important that you do this is go to the Intel library, scroll down, here it is, Ripple. Go to it. Come on, there we go. Click on it, and if you can watch the video again if you want. You can read through all the material. You can go through the slide deck. I mean, plenty here. At the very bottom, though, in the source document, scroll to the last couple of documents, and this is our sources. We didn't make this shit up. I didn't build this with AI just and to say what I wanted it to say. This is from reputable sources. XRPL.org. This is from Ripple's website. This is from reputable sources. OKX. Different exchanges. XRPL.org. This is from the official XRP Ledger website. This is where this information is coming from. So feel free to go in here, ripple.com, official press releases. This isn't us making this stuff up. I can't stress this enough. Go in here, fact check it, get a hold of us, on the same website, go to community and tag me or David. If you find something that we got wrong, please cite your source and I will go and make adjustments. Do not just dismiss this information. I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah, I think, look, if you want to make an educated decision, then you need to get as many facts as you possibly can. And if you're simply unwilling to learn anything about whatever it is that you're holding because it doesn't feel good, because you experience that cognitive dissonance where there's information that runs contrary to what you believe, and so it makes you feel bad. And that bad feeling makes you believe the false narrative even further, even more.
Let me point this out. Take all the emotion out of it, take any bias out of it. Do this. If you're very bullish on XRP, start doing this. All of those channels that you watch that talk so bullish about XRP, do they cite their sources?
No.
When they make all these claims, do they cite reputable sources? When they're showing those news clips and it talks about that, they're in discussion or in talks. What does that really mean? If they,
I think usually, Mike, what they do there is there's something on a news wire, like a press release, and they read like a press release, and it's like, okay, I can read press releases all day, but so what? Like, that's why our trifecta is so important, because you need real users and real user adoption, real product market fit. Those users need to drive real revenues on that chain or protocol. And then those revenues need to accrue to you, the token holder. And so what we learned just now is that on the XRP ledger, there are no real users. Those users, even if they drove revenue, which they don't, that revenue would never accrue to you, the token holder. And there's a source of programmatic sell pressure because Ripple Labs is dumping every single month. Like, what is it? It's got to be like $200 million a month of XRP that they sell.
To be fair, 1 billion XRP are unlocked out of escrow each month on the first of the month. And Ripple can choose to either relock all of it or sell some to pay for operations. And historically, this is a fact. Historically, Ripple sells a large amount, annually to pay for operations. That's historically how they have offices in San Francisco and New York and all these places.
That's their main revenue driver.
That's their main revenue source.
Yeah.
You
see none of that.
To bootstrap a company.
Right. And their company sucks. Like, it's basically a stable coin that no one uses.
Don't take my word for it. Let's do this. Oh, hold on. Let's go here. Let's go to XRP scan and let's look at the data. So this is the number of payments from one account to another on the XRPL, the XRP ledger, over time. So over the past year, this is declining. This is down and to the right. This isn't, the network and use isn't growing. Let's go down to XRP payment volume from one account to another. This is not growing. In fact, it's diminishing. You're seeing lower highs and lower lows. Let's go down to number of active users. This isn't growth. This isn't growth. While Canton Network and all these other Solana and Ethereum are getting massive adoption and people are they're growing and people are building and generating fees and revenue, this is not growth. Active accounts down and to the right. I didn't make this up. This is data off the XRPL. Here XRP burned its fees. It was burning a lot more fees over a year ago. This is down and to the right. I mean, everything is down and to the right. I mean, this is not growth. This is not.
So yeah, but you see what Moneymaker XRP, he re-entered the chat, and he wants to educate us. And so he's saying that selling XRP is not the main revenue source. Ripple Prime is. Unfortunately, you're incorrect, Moneymaker XRP. Their main revenue source is dumping XRP tokens on retail.
Can you actually cite your source and show them? I know you're right, but can you?
So let me see if I can go ahead and verify that real quick. Give me
Maybe
1 second.
DeFi Llama or something like that.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find some data to verify that.
I'll talk while you look. Hey, Josh, welcome. I haven't even read your comment yet. Welcome. XRP doesn't need to crash to trap people. Slow price action and constant 100 to 1,000 targets keep holders feeling early. When liquidity returns, XRP pumps first, pulls in retail, then smarter money. I can agree with that. We're not saying you can't make money with XRP. What we're saying is that the token lacks value capture. What we're saying then is, as an investment, that whole generational money, life-changing money, and all you have to do is buy and hold it in diamond hand, and you're going to get rich, is dangerous. Can you trade it? Can you trade the volatility? Can you, that when the hype starts up, like in October, if we go into a bull market, and there, starts to be, a bunch of posts about it, and people start FOMOing into it, and can the price pump? Absolutely. We've seen that, multiple cycles. We're not saying you can't make money. What we're saying is that the XRP token has no connection to the success of Ripple, the XRPL, or anything that's on the network, because it's a gas token, a very cheap gas token.
Okay, so I do have some data here, and these data come from that court case. So let's go ahead. I can share this. This is just from Google Gemini. So for anyone who wants to jump in here and refute the claims that I'm going to make, great. Like jump in and refute these. Okay, so let's just see, what does Gemini have to say. Well, number one,
really quick. But before you get into that, I want to you are locked into this mindset. Hidden Road, which Ripple bought, and Medico and all that, it also makes a ton of money. It might. The problem is, what does that mean to you, the XRP token holder?
Right.
There's a whole court case. XRP is not a security. There is no legal contract between Ripple and XRP token holders. It means nothing to you, the XRP token. Ripple can become a multi-trillion-dollar company. That means nothing to the XRP token. That's what we're talking about with value capture. There is no connection between XRP and the success or the fees and revenue generated by the XRPL or Ripple, the company. I don't know how.
And look, I also want to make my intentions here clear. I would love for all you guys who hold XRP to make all the money in the world. I want to see you succeed. But the problem is that all these claims that are made about Ripple Labs and the XRP token, they're just so scammy, man. Like most of them are not true. And it's just mostly ridiculous claims. So let's go ahead and take a look at some source material here, and let's just see what Google Gemini has to say, okay? And hopefully it proves me wrong. That way you guys can be right, and your bags, may your bags pumpeth. I hope your bags pump, dude.
Absolutely.
So look, the sources here, the U.S. SEC, so that SEC versus Ripple Labs court filings, because remember, Ripple Labs is a private company, but they were dragged through court, I think, for a good reason, for a long time, because I think XRP is a security, even though it was labeled as one of the Sweet 16, truly decentralized digital commodities. That's bullshit. So court filings and civil complaint detailing its initial token distribution revenue. Okay, so this is one of the sources. Another source is Financial Times and the Block. So interview statements from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse regarding company cash flows and profitability drivers. That's another source coming direct from the CEO. Another source here is Blockworks Financial Analysis. So this is a compilation of Ripple Labs' public quarterly XRP markets reports. And then the last source here is Contrary Research and Market Analysis. So private entity revenue model breakdowns and company operational disclosures. So let's go ahead and just read through this. Let's learn a little bit about and this is what Google Gemini says, okay? So you can't take this as gospel. This is just what Google says. So my question was, what is the main revenue source? This was my prompt. My prompt was like retard simple. What is the main revenue source for Ripple Labs? How much do they make selling XRP? And how much do they make from their fintech software business? Cite your sources. That was my prompt. So let's see what they say. So Ripple Labs revenue model, because Ripple Labs is a privately held company, it's not legally required to publish audited financial statements, breaking down its precise internal revenues. However, because of that public court case, SEC filings, and there are executive statements and historical market reports that show that sales of XRP tokens have historically served as Ripple's primary revenue source and main funding engine. And that was my claim. What I was saying is that last year that Ripple Labs generated much more revenue by dumping XRP tokens than they did in their fintech business.
Well, so when they were going through the court case, again, I was one of the top holders of XRP. And I remember Ripple had no products or services. They were generating zero revenue. That whole court case, the hundreds of millions of dollars that they spent on that court case, was from selling XRP.
Right. How does that make you feel as a token holder? You got dumped on so they could defend themselves in court.
And we were told that the token was going to pump, as soon as we got clarity, and it didn't.
Yeah, because the narrative always changes, and that's what people buy into. It's always.
I'm sorry, I got you off track.
Yeah. So the problem for me with Ripple is that the people who shill it are just so scammy, man. It's always like, okay, when this happens, then number go up, and then that thing never happens, and now of course it changed again. So now it's going to be the Clarity Act. Once the Clarity Act, then for some reason that means number go up for XRP. Never going to happen. So although I hope it does for you guys, I hope you make all the money in the world. So the primary revenue source for Ripple Labs is XRP token sales, okay? So Ripple holds billions of XRP in escrow wallets, and every month they release tokens to fund company operations, strategic investments, and market liquidity. How do you think that Ripple Labs was able to buy Hidden Road and Medico? They were able to buy those businesses by dumping XRP tokens on you, retail buyers of XRP. So according to the SEC lawsuit disclosures, Ripple and other regulatory filings reveal that Ripple raised over $1.38 billion between 2013 and late 2020 by selling 14.6 billion XRP tokens. So the court later detailed that $728 million of this came directly from institutional sales. And so that's part of the reason why they got sued in the first place, because they were dumping on institutions and the institutions weren't having any of that. And they've got money to be able to sue them. So yeah. And then you've got quarterly market disclosures also. So in its historical quarterly reports, Ripple disclosed generating $11.1 billion in gross XRP sales related to on-demand liquidity. I wonder what this means exactly. This is interesting. Between 2021 and 2022 alone. Damn. So just in that, what is that, a 12-month period? In that 1 year, they generated $11 billion
a month.
So, and then it says here, though, let's just give credit where credit is due here. It says there's a note that Ripple also repurchased roughly $8.4 billion in XRP on open markets during that time frame to support market liquidity and programmatic needs. So they sold 11.1 billion, bought back 8.4 billion. So net they made like $2 billion in 2021 and 2022. So in that 12-month period, that's the $2 billion. That's where that figure comes from. So, and then you've got executive admissions too. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, who honestly, I think this guy's a dirtbag, but this guy publicly acknowledged in a Financial Times interview that the company would not be profitable or cash flow positive without selling XRP. There you go. Similarly, Ripple CTO David Schwartz, who looks like a pedophile, by the way, noted that token sales.
No, let's not
He does, man. He does.
Let's not go
noted
there.
that token sales historically provided the vast majority of Ripple's working capital. So, dude, these guys have been dumping tokens on you, retail, for greater than a decade, man. How does that make you feel? And they haven't shipped shit until they built RLUSD, which is a crappy stable coin.
Well, and
these guys are dirtbags, man. These guys are dirtbags.
I want to add this. So for over like 2 years now, I have challenged every XRP content creator. I've challenged, Good Evening Crypto. I've challenged, anybody that is willing to come on this show and that is able to cite sources, have a logical, fact-based debate, not hype, not speculation, and debunk what we say about XRP. I have not had one. And Good Evening Crypto even took one of mine and David's shorts, showed it on their show, and was trying to say that we were unprofessional and stuff like that. And we might be unprofessional. We're kind of off the cuff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know what? They didn't address if we were wrong. They didn't say anything about
because we're not wrong. It's just, dude, literally, like, the sources are right here, man. Like, these sources are right there in the open. Like, if you want to actually learn about this stuff, you can. Or you can just, what? You're going to report me to the what? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, look, the US SEC, that court case right there, those court filings, you can read about this, you guys. You can find out where their revenue comes from. Their revenue comes from selling XRP, dumping it on you. That's where their revenue comes from. They don't have a successful business, man. They never have. And the only reason why they still exist is because they've been able to successfully dump on retail. That's the only reason. So, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But, dude, like, honestly, I find these guys to be dirtbags. I really do.
Yeah, no, it's just, but I was telling me and Moneymaker, like he had brought up something about how do we feel about Bitcoin being a part of Epstein and Epstein Island and all that. And so earlier I told him, I was like, what does that have to do with XRP?
What does that have to do with XRP?
But then you said the whole David Schwartz thing, and he's like, okay, now you want to bring the pedophiles into this, and that's why I was like, no, you're right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That's why I was saying.
I get it.
I want to keep this on topic. I want to keep it fact-based. I don't want to, I hate personal attacks because it distracts. It's a classic, and it's.
Well, I mean, I've got a problem with scammers in crypto, man. I have a real problem with that. And these guys have been around forever.
We need to base what we say on facts, on data, and cited sources. I hate personal attacks. I hate, because they're distractions. Basically, when you're saying something somebody doesn't like, they'll be, well, but this. And it's like, no. It's, I want to hear facts. I want to see data. I want you to cite your sources, because otherwise it's a personal opinion. And David, by all means, go out and fact check this, but these are the cited sources. Brad Garlinghouse has publicly stated that Ripple, the company, would be cash flow negative if they weren't dumping XRP.
Right. There you go. Comes from the horse's mouth right there. So, and David Schwartz said that the token sales provided the vast majority of Ripple's working capital.
Yeah.
So, and then we just ran through the deep dive research over at the Node.pro, and we learned that there's 0 users. Well, maybe not 0, but there's also 0 value capture. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and then the thing that is also a problem with crypto is you've got like these zealots who get attached to a bag and then become complete crazy people, man. Like this guy Spec62 in the chat. It's like, dude, like I'm just presenting to you facts. And if you got a problem with that, man, like I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm sorry that you bought
gibberish.
XRP. Like,
It's not
you
gibberish.
know, I'm sorry, man, that you bought XRP. Like it's just,
Well,
I think that it's
everything other than what he said about David Schwartz. It's all facts. It's all data.
it kind of does look like that to me.
You know, but that's a personal opinion.
Sure, so it's not based in any fact whatsoever.
But everything else that we've said, we've cited our sources. We, you know, and again, you can go to our website. Everything in the deep dive, all of the information that we put in that deep dive, every single bit of it has cited sources. And if you weren't here for it, here I'll share it with you.
So Spec62 is suffering from something that's called cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
That's what he's suffering from right now. When there is information presented to you that runs contrary to some deeply held belief, what it actually makes you do is believe that wrong-headed, deeply held belief even more, and people start to lash out at the person who is presenting that information. That's called cognitive dissonance. Yeah, but we see that. But we saw that with the Kita crazy people. We see that with XRP people. You see that with Cardano people. Like because these projects are just all garbage. And like you can prove that they're garbage. But because if you buy a bag of ADA or Kita or XRP and then you're down big time, or you could be up on it even. And if you just believe in it so much and all of the facts that you have are wrong, and someone presents information to you that runs contrary to what you believe, it just makes you believe that false information even more. Well, so it's like
Spec62, come over here to the Node.pro, come into the community and start posting links.
Dude, honestly, I don't even want these people in the community, man. These people, they're just such a problem. Like they're so overly zealous and wrong.
No. I want open dialogue. If you're going to make a statement like this, you know, that we're ignorant to all the facts, dude, I was in the top 2% of XRP holders. I deeply researched XRP for over 5 years, actually almost 6 now. There is nothing you're going to tell me about XRP that I don't know. I know every aspect of XRP. And
yeah, but that's not what these XRP and Kita and Cardano people do. But they come in and they start saying like, I'm going to find out where you live type stuff.
I get it. I get it. But Spec62, this has been the challenge since I started this channel and up until recently. If I challenge any of the XRP maxis, any of the of the people out there that are just insanely bullish on XRP, I welcome you to come on the show. It's not going to be hostile. It's not going to be confrontational. But come on, if you want to come on, you better come with receipts. But good evening crypto, Mickle, any of these, I've challenged them for years to come on the show and debate me on XRP. And not a single one of them have taken me up on it. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm willing to debate and risk being proved wrong. Obviously, they're not. What does that tell you?
Yeah, man. So I would, I just, dude, honestly, like it's almost not even worth it because like just to get attacked personally when you present information, you're like, hey man, like I think that this token has no value capture, has no users, and the chain drives no revenue. And then for people to say, well, but sometime in the future, this might maybe happen. And so number go up. It's like, oh my God, like, what are you talking about, man? Like, it makes me think that it's not real people that we're talking to. Are these bots? Like, is that it? Are we talking to bots? Are we
I
just
don't
spinning our
know.
wheels talking to bots?
But
I think
they
that's what's
understand
going
why
on.
they choose not to come on. So basically, they're not confident enough in their statements or in their claims that to come on and have have civil discourse and talk about what they almost exclusively talk about. They should be more knowledgeable than I am about XRP, and if they are, they should be chomping at the bit to prove us wrong. So, you ask why would they? Why wouldn't they?
Who's Claver?
Jake Claver, he's always on Good Morning. It used to be Good Morning Crypto, now it's Good Evening Crypto. He's based out of Dallas, Texas, and he's one of the ones that makes the 10,000, the case for $10,000 XRP and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you guys, why would anyone ever use XRP to settle some type of cross-border payment? Like, the entire idea is stupid on its face. Like, if you've got dollars and you want to swap that for yen, why in the world would you ever want to use an intermediary token like XRP? You would never want to do that. And that's why no one uses it. That's why no one uses it.
Yeah.
So, and there's no DeFi on there. It's a project that's been around forever. They never shipped anything until they started building RLUSD. Like, I think it's a scam, dude. I think it's a scam. And it's just, it's a really, yeah, it's gross.
I can send any one of you in the chat. I can send you USDC for free instantly right now without XRP. It's for free. I can send 100% free and just as fast, if not faster, than XRP.
So, Mike, what was that? What was that comment by Satoshi Nakamoto that he made 16 years ago? Yesterday, I think it was, where he said, if you don't understand Bitcoin, I don't have time to explain it to you. It's just like, it's really, really frustrating when you do your best to put out valid information about a protocol or a coin or a chain or a token, and the information that you present is real. And then people just want to attack you without actually listening to anything that you're saying. It's like, oh man, well, I don't know that I really have time for that. Like, I'm trying so hard to put out valid information, and then I just see stupid shit in the chat. It's like, oh my God.
And this is valid. Just Mitch, welcome to the channel. We're wasting our time responding to these donuts. I do this all day on X, and the reason isn't to convince these people. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind here. The conversations that we're having with these people is so that others, when they watch this, they can see the ridiculousness of the claims that some of these people make, and the fact that we're presenting cited facts and data, and they can see how ridiculous. So if somebody's thinking about buying XRP and they run across this content and they see us presenting facts and the ridiculous people in the comments that are making claims like XRP is Bitcoin 2.0. Okay, based on what? There's no value in that statement.
You see what Moneymaker XRP said? That makes me feel better, man. Like, thank you. Like, he said something about like trying to poke holes. It forces me to learn more. I'm not trying. Like, I'm just presenting information. That's all we're doing.
Well, it's the same thing David does with Arrow and Aerodrome. I'm a huge Aerodrome bull. It's my largest bag, and David constantly pokes holes in it, and I appreciate that. I don't lash out at him. I don't call him names. It's you. If you go back and watch other episodes, you'll see me and him go back and forth. But just like Moneymaker said, it forces me because I want, because sometimes he'll say things and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know.
And so you see what Abide just said in the chat? He's not wrong. So the compute for Bitcoin is not sustainable. It could become centralized. I mean, look, Bitcoin's mining, there's a big problem with that business model, man. There really is. Look, I'll be the first. I don't have any horse in that race, okay? I'm going to be DCAing into Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and Tron. Those are my 4, okay? Bitcoin, because I believe in Bitcoin. ETH, Sol, and Tron, because that's where all the stablecoin liquidity lives. Those are the 3 best smart contract platforms. So, when he says centralized, Bitcoin centralized, the mining, because there's like a handful of companies that do a lot of mining.
The market share.
Yeah,
that basically secure the network. So. Spec 60, I don't know what to tell you, Spec 62. You're telling us to do our research? Dude, we just presented
I know
deep research with cited sources. I have been studying XRP, the XRPL, and Ripple for over 5 years. I don't know how much more research you want us to do, brother.
I don't know either, man. But every time I talk about XRP, I just kind of like want to take a hammer and hit myself in the head a couple of times first, because it's like, oh God, XRP again, like yuck, man. Oh, it's frustrating. It really is.
I'm going to point out something. In all of this back and forth in the chat, I have not seen one of the bulls on XRP in the chat give one cited source proving us wrong or proving any of the statements that they have made right.
You see what Crispy says? I feel dumber today.
And I apologize. I appreciate all of you that have watched this exchange. But again, this isn't because we're trying to change those people in the chat's mind. We are hoping that
Mike, can you pop the chat up on the screen so that we can all see this together? Awesome.
So what we're trying to do here, we're not trying to change minds. We're trying to present facts and data. So if someone is thinking about investing in any of these assets that we cover on the channel, or they're invested and still have an open mind, they're not they're not a zealot, that it will actually encourage them to do more research.
Okay, well, appreciate you. Black Site Digital, thank you, man. Really do appreciate that comment. Yeah, man. So and then yeah. So you see what Abide is saying though? Ripple as a company does massive revenue. So even that first part, I would kind of disagree with that because, number one, I agree with the second part, though. None of that translates to XRP, the token. And also, the vast majority of Ripple's revenues come from dumping XRP, not from whatever the fintech business does. So, yeah, man.
Dude, yeah.
It's like, dude, get over yourself being so disrespectful. Fuck you,
what?
dude.
He made one comment, a personal
don't care
personal opinion about David Schwartz, and you're going to dismiss the hour of deep research, cited sources, and I
don't think that Prime. I don't think Ripple Prime. So Abide. I don't think that Ripple Prime is one of the largest clearing and settlement networks. I don't think it does. I really don't.
It's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, see, this is what's so frustrating. I want to be able to have, valuable conversations with people in the chat about the information that we present. But, and also, like, it doesn't help when people are just so rabid, man. Like, it's always like the same projects. It's XRP people, Cardano people, and Kita people are like just crazy as fuck, man. And it's really frustrating because, like, if you're just trying to present some information and then you've got people just coming out the woodwork, coming at you crazy, it makes you like not want to even talk about those projects anymore. But
the only thing it makes me not want to engage with the chat unless, and maybe that's what we need to do, is not acknowledge any of the comments unless they bring actual value to the conversation. because we just wasted a bunch of time going back and forth with people that were adding no value. They weren't making any statement of fact. They weren't giving any links. They weren't providing any information that that proved anything we said wrong or proved any of their statements correct. There was no value. So maybe that's what we need to start doing is just if you want to come at us, please. If you have something of value, otherwise we're just not going to acknowledge you in the chat.
Yeah, and I would love for if someone's going to come at us in the chat, like give us a link to some piece of information so that we can review it live. Like I would really, really love to be able to review some of this information live because that's what we do, man. Like I cited all of my sources today, and so did you, Mike. And they're out there in the open for anyone to find. And it's like, hey, man, just if you've got a different piece of information, I would love to read it. Present your sources.
Let's see. But look at Maximus Crypto. He's different in his deep dives. It's nice. And you know what? I mean, Maximus Crypto actually, I've been talking to him about coming on the show. I think he's going to be coming on the show. And everybody has their own flavor. We're not here to be nice. We're here to state facts. If that hurts feelings, that hurts feelings. Sometimes the truth hurts. And you know what? I was in the military, Army and Marines for 22 years. I don't care about feelings. I care about making money. If you're more interested in your feelings, there's plenty of channels you can watch. We're not solely focused on views. We're not solely focused on engagement. We're here to give good, solid information. And if that hurts feelings, so be it.
And dude, honestly, I want you guys to make money. Like, I want you to succeed. Like, I don't know everything about these things. There's no way to. Like, I really want you guys to succeed. And so the way that I know how to succeed is by gathering as much data as I possibly can so that I can make the most informed decision possible. And the data that I see about most, it's not just XRP and Stellar and HBAR and Quant and Cubic. It's most crypto projects. Most of them are vapor, most of them. And so like, I just, dude, most of them are.
We're not just picking on XRP. Like most of the projects we've done deep dive.
It's just that XRP is the biggest vaporware project because, and it's not that there's no there. It's that if you own the token, you don't own anything. That's the problem. That's the big problem. It's like, man, and when you go back through the history of Ripple Labs, it's gross, dude. It looks like a scam to me.
Well, the thing is with XRP is that, I mean, the value that it has is speculative value. It's because people buy it. I mean, if tomorrow, if it came out, if people, a bunch of people realize that there's really no value there, and everybody started selling it, it would just go away, and because there really is no value. It's not like stock in a company that pays dividends, or that is directly tied to the revenue, and the reports that come out quarterly. That's what the stock is based off of. XRP, the value is perceived value. That's all it is.
You see what Blacksite Digital said? That's pretty good. XRP is nothing but a bunch of meme KOLs. Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah.
Well, let's end on this because we're over time. But Abide said it very well. The rule is don't fall in love with your investments. Know what you buy and own. So I couldn't agree more.
100%.
You need to understand what it is that you are buying, and especially if you're going to be holding it long term, because if you don't, there's a good chance that when the music stops in this crypto game of musical chairs, and everyone else has taken their profits and is sitting in a chair, you're going to be left standing there with your diamond hands full of worthless tokens, not just XRP. It looked to on Robinhood. What was that? GameStop. Look what happened with GameStop. a worthless stock.
You don't
that
want to get stuck holding the bag, man.
Everyone rushed in because it was pumping in all the hype, and everybody bought it. And you can watch
So
it.
you see what Crypto Steve-O said. A lot of people love XRP. A lot of people hate. So I don't have any emotions towards this.
No.
Okay, I don't feel any love or hate for this token. All I'm doing is presenting what I believe to be legitimate factual information, and that information leads me to draw the conclusion that Ripple Labs was some type of scam company dumping XRP tokens on retail. And now they've bought a bunch of other businesses and they've actually built a fintech. But they built that fintech by dumping XRP on retail. And I find that to be really gross, really gross. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go, but Spec, we focused on facts and not personal attacks. David made one comment about David Schwartz, and you latched onto it. We went for an hour with facts, data, cited sources. If that falls on deaf ears, that says more about you than it does about us. And with that,
wish you the
David,
best.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody that watched, everyone that will watch. We hope you find value in this, and we hope you get some laughs out of it too.
Absolutely.
So with that, I hope to see you tonight. We'll be live streaming the game show that David's going to be on. The crypto game show he's going to be on. On our other channel, Unfiltered and Sovereign. You can find that. Actually, I'll share this real quick. You can find that here.
Look at what Blackside Digital said. He said Spec 62 is a Ripple ex-lawyer.
So if you want to go to at the Node Network, all one word, that's our channel that many of you are watching on. But our brother channel, Unfiltered and Sovereign, on Thursday evenings, one of our shows is called The Red Pill. And it's basically where we just talked about base shit. We talk about guns, we talk about politics, relationships. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, oddly enough, confirmation bias. And it's kind of the danger of confirmation bias, and part of that we're going to be watching live. The show with David, because it's a panel, and it's going to have people that either strongly agree or disagree on different crypto projects or different questions that are crypto based, and we're going to listen and we're going to see.
And I'm going to be very respectful. I'm going to be I promise, I will be very respectful. It's going to be fun.
No, absolutely. But, we're going to, do commentary, live commentary, and basically just see who is presenting cited sources or facts, or who is just purely speculating. So, all right. With that,
great time today. Thanks, everyone.
We appreciate all the comments, the ones that we agree with and especially the ones we disagree with. We hope that, those evolve into comments of value where, again, there's cited sources, links that we can review live on the show, because ultimately we want to be, we don't want to be wrong, but we welcome being wrong. As long as it is good, solid facts and data. So
cite your source, man. Cite your source.
With that, thank you all. And until next time, Veteran Crypto out.